I spent my entire life apologizing for my mother. I apologized to waitresses when she pointed at pictures on the menu because she couldn't read the words. I apologized to teachers when she signed my permission slips with a shaky X instead of a signature. I apologized to my girlfriends when I didn't introduce them to her, telling them she was shy, when in reality, I was terrified she would open her mouth and reveal her ignorance. My mother was illiterate. In a modern world, in a city full of scholars and professionals, my mother was a relic of a harder, darker time. She was a single mom who scrubbed floors for a living, who counted change by the color of the coins, and who needed her 7-year-old son to read her the instructions on a bottle of medicine. I loved her, but I didn't respect her. How could I? I was the smart one. I was the one who learned to read at 4. I was the one who devoured libraries. I was the one who corrected her grammar at the dinner table until she stopped speaking altogether. I viewed her as a child, a simple, sweet burden of a child that I had to take care of. 3 weeks ago, my mother died of a stroke. I stood in her small, cluttered house, the house I had escaped as soon as I turned 18, and I felt a heavy, guilty relief. I thought, at least now I don't have to worry about her getting cheated by a bank teller. At least now I don't have to translate the world for her. I was ready to sell the house. I was ready to box up her simple life and move on. But then the lawyer called. He told me that my mother had left me a safety deposit box key and instructions to look in the basement. I didn't even know we had a basement. The door under the stairs had been nailed shut for as long as I could remember. My mother told me it was dangerous. She said there were rats. She said the floor was rotten. I pried the boards off the door. I walked down the creaky wooden steps using the flashlight on my phone. I expected to find junk. I expected to find mold. Instead, I found an office. It was climate controlled. It was lined with bookshelves from floor to ceiling, and in the center of the room, sitting on an antique oak desk, was a typewriter. And next to the typewriter were copies of books. Not just any books. My favorite books. The books that had saved my life when I was a lonely, bullied kid. The books that had taught me about courage and magic and honor. The fantasy series that the entire world loved. The series written by the reclusive, anonymous author known only as A.J. Clarke. I picked up a manuscript from the desk. It was the draft of the final book, the book that hadn't been published yet, the book the world was waiting for. I looked at the handwriting in the margins. It wasn't the shaky, illiterate scrawl I saw on my birthday cards. It was sharp, it was elegant, it was powerful. My mother wasn't illiterate. My mother was A.J. Clarke. She was one of the most successful, brilliant, and wealthy authors of the century. And she had played the role of the village idiot for 30 years. If you have ever underestimated your parents, or if you think you know the full story of the people who raised you, you need to listen to this. Please hit that subscribe button right now. I am going to tell you a story about a sacrifice so profound it makes me question everything I know about love. To understand why she did it, you have to understand who I was as a child. I was slow. When I was 3, I didn't speak. When I was 4, I couldn't learn my letters. The doctors told my mother I was developmentally delayed. They said I would probably never read at a high level. They said I would struggle my whole life. My mother was a genius, I know that now. She had a PhD in literature before I was born. She had been a professor. But she knew something about human psychology that the doctors didn't. She knew that if she was the teacher and I was the failing student, I would feel small. I would feel broken. I would feel like I was disappointing the brilliant woman who raised me. So she flipped the script. She decided to become the student. I remember the day it started. I was 5. I was crying over a picture book, throwing it across the room because the letters made no sense to me. My mother sat down on the floor next to me. She picked up the book. She looked at it upside down. She said, "Leo, don't cry. I hate these things too. They are so hard." I looked at her. "You hate them?" She nodded. I can't read them either. The letters. They dance around. I am stupid, Leo. I can't read a single word. I stopped crying. My mom, my hero, was stupid. She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes. I need help, Leo. I need to read the bus schedule so I can get to work, but I can't. If I don't learn, we won't have money for food. Will you help me? Will you learn so you can teach me? Something shifted in my tiny brain. I wasn't the broken kid anymore. I was the helper. I was the protector. I was the only thing standing between my mother and disaster. I picked up the book. I will teach you, Mom, I said. Oh, and I did. I worked harder than any kid in my class, not because I wanted a gold star, but because I had to come home and teach my mom how to read the electric bill. Every night for years we sat at the kitchen table. I would read to her. I would sound out the words. "Cat cat, see mom, it is easy." She would scrunch up her face. She would struggle. She would say, "You are so smart, Leo. I just don't get it. Explain it again." And I would explain it again. And in explaining it to her, I mastered it myself. I didn't know she was acting. I didn't know that while I was sleeping, she was going downstairs to the secret basement and writing masterpieces that were winning awards around the world. I didn't know that the cleaning lady uniform she wore was a costume. I grew up, I became arrogant. By the time I was 12, I surpassed her, or so I thought. I started to get annoyed. Mom, it is a menu. Just order the number 4. Why do I have to read it to you every time? You are embarrassing me. She would look down at her hands. I am sorry, Leo. The words are just blurry today. I would sigh. I would roll my eyes. I started reading novels to escape her. I discovered the A.J. Clarke books. They were about a boy who had to save his kingdom because the queen was cursed with silence. I loved those books. I lived inside them. I would read them to her at dinner. Mom, listen to this part. The hero uses his wits to trick the dragon. It is so smart, you wouldn't understand. She would listen, peeling potatoes, her face blank. Tell me more, Leo, she would say. What does the hero do next? I would explain the plot to her, feeling superior. I would analyze the themes. I didn't realize I was analyzing her own mind back to her. I didn't realize that the hero in the book was me and the silent queen was her. She was writing a roadmap for my life and then letting me discover it as if it were my own treasure. I went to college. I became a literature professor. The irony is sickening. I built a career on analyzing great texts. I wrote papers on the brilliance of A.J. Clarke. I once told my mother on a phone call, Mom, you should be proud. I am studying the greatest writer of our time. He is a genius. She said, that is nice, honey. Did you remember to pay your car insurance? I can't read the notice they sent to the house. I hung up on her. I couldn't handle the contrast between the genius I studied and the simpleton I was related to. Now I stood in the basement, surrounded by the truth. I picked up a letter from the desk. It was addressed to me. My dearest Leo, if you are reading this, I am gone, and the basement is open. I know you are probably confused, you are probably angry, you are wondering why I lied to you for 30 years. You were such a fragile boy, Leo. The world wanted to crush you, the doctors said you were broken. I couldn't let you believe them. I knew that if I was strong, you would lean on me, but if I was weak, you would grow muscles to carry us both. I pretended to be blind so you would learn to see. I pretended to be mute so you would find your voice. I pretended to be helpless so you would become a hero. It was hard, Leo, it was so hard. When you yelled at me in the restaurant, I wanted to cry. When you called me stupid, I wanted to scream that I had a higher IQ than your professors. When you read my books to me and explained the plot like I was a child, I wanted to tell you that I wrote that plot for you. But I couldn't. Because the moment I became the genius, you would go back to being the boy who couldn't read. Your confidence was built on the foundation of my feigned ignorance. I saw you grow, I saw you become arrogant, and it hurt, but I accepted your arrogance because it was better than your shame. I would rather be hated by a successful son than loved by a broken one. I wrote the books for you. Every character is a piece of you. Every victory is a victory I wanted for you. The money is yours, all of it, the royalties, the movie rights, the millions. I never spent it. I lived like a poor woman so you wouldn't suspect. But the money isn't the legacy, Leo. The legacy is you. You are the smart one. You taught me to read. Remember, you saved me. Never forget that. You are the teacher. Love, Mom. A.J. Clark. I fell to my knees on the concrete floor. I held the letter to my chest and I wailed. I cried for the arrogance of my youth. I cried for the cruel things I said to her. I cried for the loneliness she must have felt. Imagine being one of the greatest minds in the world and having the person you love most treat you like an idiot. Imagine having the world applaud your work, but having to hide it from your own son just so he could feel smart. She sacrificed her identity, she sacrificed her ego, she sacrificed her dignity. She let me treat her like dirt so that I could polish myself into a diamond. I looked at the typewriter, I saw a half-finished page. It was the beginning of a memoir. The title was The Boy Who Taught Me How to Fly. It was a story about us, but from her perspective. It described the nights at the kitchen table. It described the way my face lit up when I finally sounded out a word. It described the pride she felt when I yelled at her for being slow because it meant I was fast. I realized that my entire life was a performance piece directed by her. She curated my reality. She engineered my success by removing herself as the competition. I thought about the money, millions of dollars. She scrubbed floors, she wore old clothes, she let people pity her. She could have lived in a mansion, she could have traveled the world, she could have been famous. But she chose to be my mom, my stupid mom. I went back upstairs, the house looked different now. It wasn't a shack of poverty, it was a stage set, a set designed to make me the star. I went to the kitchen table, I sat in the chair where I used to drill her on flashcards. I remembered the frustration in her voice. I just don't get it, Leo. She got it all. I am sharing this story because I know I am not alone. We judge our parents, we judge them for what they can't do, we judge them for their limitations. We think we are smarter than them, we think we have surpassed them. But we don't know what they are holding back. We don't know the strength it takes to play weak. If you have a parent who seems simple, who seems to need your help, who seems to lean on you, don't look down on them. Maybe they are leaning on you to make you strong enough to stand. Maybe they are playing the fool to make you the king. I can never apologize to her. I can never tell her that I know the truth. I can never tell her that she is my favorite author. But I can tell the world. I am going to publish her final book, and I am going to put her real name on the cover. It's by Evelyn Miller, the mother who wrote The World. And in the dedication, I am going to write, to the woman who played dumb so I could be smart, I am sorry I believed the mask, but thank you for the play. Please call your mom. Don't correct her grammar, don't sigh when she asks for help with her phone, don't be arrogant. You are standing on her shoulders, and if she is crouching down, it is only so you can reach higher. If this story broke your heart and put it back together, please share it. Share it for the silent geniuses. Share it for the mothers who hide their light so their children can shine. And in the comments, tell me, what is something your parent taught you, even if you didn't realize they were teaching you at the time? Let's honor the teachers. Hit subscribe. We tell the stories here that change who we are. Thank you, Mom. I finally learned how to read, and I read you loud and clear.